Now that we've added some styles to our table, I want to take a look at some other things that we can do. So here, coming back to our HTML, if I needed to add some more information to this table that wasn't necessarily something that would belong in one of these columns or its own row, like if I wasn't creating another employee or adding some more times, there's some things that I can do to work with that and still add another row to add some data here. So here I'm going to add a couple of TD tags. TD, and then put in, employees must take a break every 2 hours. Must take a 15-minute break. And then must take 1 hour lunch break if working more than 5 hours in a row. So now when I save this, whoops, wrong button. So when I save that, refresh my page, I can see, okay, we do have those new cells, but this is all I need in this row. So I need to do something to get these to take up some more space because this throws my table way off. So in that case, here I'm going to use the colspan property. And the colspan tells this tag how many columns I want it to span. So in this case, I'm going to have it span 3 and have this one span colspan equals 3. Now these don't have to be even. We'll take a look at that here in just a minute. But in this case, for those to be even, I can see that works. So if I want to, say, go ahead and give this some kind of informational header, so I'm going to give this a TH, actually, and then we'll say break information. So now we save that, I refresh this, and even though I'm telling this to span 3, it's not. This cell needs its space. This one is spanning 3. This one is spanning 2 because we ran out of space. And typically I would want to make sure that I come in here and update this. I want this one to take up its space, then this TD tag to take up 3 and this one to take up 2. Or I can tell this I want this one to take up 2 and this one to take up 3 instead. So now I know this will take up 1 by default, this will take up 2, this will take up 3, so that's going to be 6, which is the number of columns that I have. And I'm getting a look that, maybe I like the way this looks and want to go with it. But because I'm using that column span, that works. Now something else we could do instead, if we wanted to put these on their own rows, one, I can go ahead and take that out. We'll take out this colspan because we're not going to need it for this. Yeah, we will at the moment. But so tr, and then adding this table data tag back in, and we're going to give this its colspan equals property back. But now what I want is I want this to go across all 5 of those. So here, and then I want this one to go across all 5. Or I want it to go across 5. So now when I refresh my page, I'm kind of getting what I want. But I don't want this one to be all the way over here on the left, and I want this heading to kind of work with that as well. So in that case, I can come up here to this table heading tag, and I can use the row span attribute or property and tell it I want it to span 2 rows. because I know I have 2 rows of information here and I want it to span for both of those. When I refresh my page, now it does. And I can add in more rows and have that span 4 rows if I want to. So here, just copy and pasting those and then telling this I want it to span 4 rows instead of 2. Then it's doing that, it's working. It's still recognizing the even and odd styling that we put in here. And it's keeping this kind of as a heading for all of those rows. So that's a way that we can use the row span and column span and help group some of our information together. We can create a lot of kind of cool layouts in our tables depending on what it is we need to do, what we're laying out, and how we need to go about that. Now, one more thing, I'm going to go ahead and take out these extra, or these 2 extra rows because we don't need them. Save this, refresh our page. But one other thing I want to look at that can be kind of handy is using the on hover rule. That can be handy for changing some styles when you're hovering your mouse over this, and a lot of times with a table that can be pretty handy. So if I just want to go, background color black, color white, font size, we'll go 1.25 EMs just to make it a little bit bigger. That's going to probably look a little weird as we go. Then border color white. So now when I refresh this, because we have this hover rule in here, when I hover over this, yet doing that font size doesn't really work for me. I'm going to take that out, and now when I refresh this, I can see I'm getting that black background with the white text, and I need to set this on tr:hover th and tr:hover td. And now when I'm hovering over these rows, like I can see that border is changing also with it, but only when I'm hovering over these. A lot of times when you're working with, especially if you're working with a lot of data and somebody's looking at that, you might want to be able to hover over this header and see the row change so that I know, okay, I'm on Robert, that's the row that changed, it's different, and be able to follow that across without accidentally being over here at Jeff, but looking at Sally's schedule and getting that mixed up, something like that. It can help you follow the data a lot easier that way. And that's also part of the reason for using alternating colors on the rows. They don't have to be as drastic as what I'm using. That was just so that we have a very obvious example of that changing. But that is something that can come in pretty handy.